All right, so how does it actually feel to hit 10K per month? Now, I know a lot of the reasons why you guys are trying to make money online is because you heard someone online say that you can make 10K per month with this model, and that's fine. I know it always starts off with the goal of hitting 10K. It's never like millionaire, is it? Or like it's never 20 or 30 or 40K. It's always I want to hit 10K per month. It's always that number. That's the buzzword. Everybody always talks about how great it is. Now, I wanted to record this to explain, right? My experience actually getting there, because I probably started off worse than you are right now. I've gone through the trenches. I've tried every single model. I've tried drop shipping. I've tried Amazon FBA. I've tried doing print on demand, tried reselling items online. I tried fixing phone screens and reselling them for a profit when I was 14 until Apple shut down that idea. I've tried everything, guys. And it took me, so I started at 18 properly within business. I'm trying to figure it out in this whole online space. It took me around 3 years to get to 10K per month, right? And I'm gonna run you through what it took me, how it actually feels now as well, because it's not what it's all cut out to be, I'll be honest. Like, it's glorified online in certain ways. It's also like, let me just get into it, right? So it took me 3 years to get it to work. It requires you to metaphorically kill yourself, right? It takes a lot of pain. You have to really, really destroy this character that you've got going on right now, right? Who you are right now, everything about you right now needs to change, right? The way you look, the people you speak to, right? The relationships you have with, for example, I don't know, could be your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You might not want to hear that, but I'll get into that in a second. But that's also something you need to consider, right? The food you eat, places you go, the way you think, the way you dress, how you talk, the way you act, the way you think, everything. Now, you're gonna have to become a completely new person. This sounds exciting. Oh, become a new person, destroy yourself and destroy your old self and become this new person. Yeah, but it also, like, nobody tells you how tough it actually is to do. It is heartbreaking, guys. To destroy this version of yourself right now, it really does feel like you are being killed. Like, when I say metaphorically kill yourself, it honestly feels like a part of you is dying in real time. It is painful as hell. And I think the reason why, I don't think it's to do with how smart people are or what business model they picked. I think the reason why they don't get to 10K per month or have this big life or achieve their goals is because they can't hold out for that long. Because this pain that you have to go through of metaphorically killing yourself and becoming a new person, honestly is like taking a hammer and chisel to the skull. Like, honestly, it really is grueling, and it's not for the weak. Okay, and it nearly killed me, right? Like, it really sucks. What I mean by this is you're gonna have to, for example, these are two of the biggest things that I struggled with, is cutting out friends that you thought were your friends that you've had for years that actually were secretly holding you back. And you didn't realize it because you were so used to them being in your circle that you thought, oh, they're my friends. But actually you realized after some critical thinking, right, and sitting there with a notepad and pen, these guys aren't your friends. They're actually rooting against you. And you're only friends with them because you are forced to see them 5 times a week in school. It's just familiar. They're not actually your friends. They don't actually support you. And I had a realization. This is when I first actually cut off my friend group. And it sucked to do. I went on a lad's holiday to Zante. And on that holiday, I fell out with a certain individual on the holiday, said some horrible things to me and about me. And I realized a pattern that whenever I talk about, you know, my goals and stuff like that, like the people I was hanging around with in this specific circle and this specific individual as well, I'd get laughed at and my ideas would get shat on. And, you know, it wouldn't feel very nice being around them. I used to not really enjoy my time there. And I remember on that holiday feeling so lost and just really paranoid and uptight, thinking this is supposed to be a nice time away with my friends and I'm not enjoying it. And it was this feeling I couldn't shake, right? Until we had a massive falling out. Okay, one specific night, I'm not gonna get into the details, but a certain individual in this friends group, which the whole friends group in general wasn't my kind of circle anyway, but this one individual said some really horrible things about my then girlfriend at the time, like some really horrific, horrible stuff that I'm never gonna forgive. And I realized, like, honestly, I was drunk at the time, so I didn't really realize it at the time, but I thought about it in the morning, I thought, friends don't do that. And it kind of clicked. I was like, oh, this isn't my circle. These aren't my friends. I shouldn't be hanging around with these people. And it sucked. It sucked because I had to cut them out. right? And I went back to UK after that. And ever since, I've just stayed away from environments like that. I cut that completely out of my life. And to top that off, at the same time, there was this girl that I was with. There was this girl that I was in a relationship with that I really liked. That I realized me being ambitious and, you know, wanting all these things in my life wasn't aligned with where she wanted to go either. Okay. And it was taking a toll on the relationship. And I really liked this girl. And she liked me too. And I had to cut it off out of being fair to herself and to me as well. Like, it wasn't going to work for either of us. And it sucked. So in the space of like a month, I'd lost my friends that I'd had for years after a horrible realization that they weren't my friends. It wasn't my circle, right? And I also had to break up with the girl that I was in love with, right? I had to destroy a relationship. And it was kind of like I was given two choices, right? It was keep this now and sacrifice who you could be in the future, this, you know, version of yourself that you want to be, like, for example, millionaire, right? Even like the 10K a month version. It was like, right, keep everything you got right now, stay comfortable, but never get to where you want to be, because it's really easy to get comfortable in the position there, right? But stay there and sacrifice never becoming that guy, or go into the unknown, right? And sacrifice all of this stuff now to become the person you want to be. It was kind of like, how bad do you want this, Aidan? How bad do you actually want to make this happen? How bad do you actually want to make even just 10K a month, right? Which in the grand scheme of things, we'll get into in a second, isn't that much money. It was like, how bad do you want it? And I'm telling you right now, guys, and like, this isn't even all that I had to do, just by having to cut out my old friends group and by having to break up with this girl that I was with and end this relationship, tore me apart, right? And that was kind of like the minimum requirements, right? It's kind of like the barrier to entry to actually even try and entertain the idea of making money online or being quote unquote successful. That's kind of the barrier to entry. You had to sacrifice that. It was like, you have to sacrifice these two big things that not a lot of people are willing to do to even start the journey. And those are the two sacrifices I had to make. And then it gets into, for example, then you have to change the way you think, the way you look, the food you eat, all of this stuff, like what you consume in terms of like content. Then it gets deep like that. But you have to start off with like a couple of big sacrifices, like, for example, the people you're hanging around with, you know, your relationship, whatever. And that's what I had to kind of give up, right? So that was that. That's just a start. Yeah, you're going to have to do that as well. That's what it takes. There's this barrier to entry that you have to go through. That not a lot of people are willing to sacrifice that, and I had to do it. And it sucked. Now, looking back, it still kind of hurts a little bit. But it was definitely worth it, because now I'm a constant work in progress. I'm nowhere near where I want to be as like an end result, but I've definitely come a long way and I'm proud of myself, right? So that's number one. That's kind of what it took. It's business stuff aside. It doesn't matter what business model you picked. Put that stuff to the side. That doesn't matter. Like, can you sacrifice those things that I just said? Are you willing to let those things go? Because not a lot of people are willing to do that, right? And be laughed at and judged and get no results for months and months and months, okay? So grit like that is something that I wish I could portray over camera more clearly, because I feel like it's not doing my point. It destroyed me having to do that. So that's what you're gonna have to do as well. Just to get to 10K, which isn't even like millionaire level, you have to sacrifice stuff like that, okay? But then, once you do that, and you hold out in that pain, you bathe in that pain for a long enough time, shit starts to click, right? It took me a while to actually start making even my first £100 online, right? It took me, honestly, I didn't start making like a decent wage online for a good year and a half. And then a year and a half later, I was hitting 10K a month. It's a slow, grueling process on top of having to sacrifice the things that you loved. So to stick it out for that long is really testing you, right? It builds your character, right? So even business stuff aside, but yeah, doing that, holding it out for that long with no results. And then when you finally get there, I'll be honest, it is quite nice. It's pretty fantastic. Like, look where I am. It's random, day to day, Friday in March, and I'm just chilling in this. I think this place is worth like 15 or 20 million. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say like I live here, because I don't, but I'm allowed to go to environments like this now on a random Friday without having to ask anyone for permission, do what I want basically, because I went through that pain. So I can do that now at 10K a month. That's pretty cool. pretty much 90% of your problems existing right now can be solved with money. Things go wrong. For example, to get here, I missed my flight, I overslept, and I still wanted to really come, right? And a lot of people would have just gone like and left it, because to buy another flight last minute was £570 and then £150 Uber to make it in time to the airport. So that was like a £700 mistake. Now that hurt. I'm not going to say it didn't, but because obviously now I'm fortunate enough to be making good money, it was more of an inconvenience rather than like actual pain. You know how it feels when like a big bill comes out and it's like it kind of destroys you. I'm very fortunate enough to say that it just kind of was like, it hurt, but it was kind of just like, oh, fine, is what it is. Like, I know that most of the problems that I have that are going to come up right now can be solved with money. And 10K a month is where you start to really experience that. And it's a nice feeling. But then on top of it, it feels good. And you have this sense of pride because you went from like broke to 6 figures a year in a short time frame. But then it's like, because you're working so hard and in these really good environments and you're doing big things, you meet new people that are 10 times further ahead than you. And then you start comparing yourself. And I don't care who you are or what you're doing. Everybody compares themselves to some degree. You will start doing this when you get to 10K, because you're going to meet much more successful people doing 100K, 500K, a million. I've got friends that are doing 1-2 million a month. I've got friends doing money that you wouldn't even believe if I told you, right? And then you sit next to them and you're thinking like, you know, part of you has this little bit of an ego because obviously you're making good money young. And then you speak to someone who's 1 year younger than you and he's doing about 100 times better. And then you start to think, right, oh, okay, I'm really not shit, right? And it's this weird like balance of being unbelievably proud of yourself and having this pride and a little bit of ego, to be honest, about the fact that you're making 10K. And then it's also this shocking realization that you're actually not anything special. Like, you've got people that now that you're friends with that are doing 20K, 30K, 100K, a million a month. So it's this weird cycle. And then now you're trying to get to 50K, 100K, and you feel like a loser that you're not doing that, right? So what I'm trying to say is when you get to 10K, you're not going to be like, right, life's complete. There we go. Let's just sit and chill here for a while. No, because you've gotten there and you've seen the potential that you have, that you can do it. You will now push further. And guess what? That number gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger that you need to hit. You'll hit 20K, right? Then you'll want 40. Then you'll hit 40, then you'll want 80. Then you hit 80, then you want 150. And it doesn't stop. So once you start this road, it doesn't end. So like there's no end point, because again, you're going to go through the same process. You're going to feel proud of yourself, going to make good money, you're going to enjoy it, and then you're going to have a friend that does 10 times better than you with it, and you're going to think, I'm a loser. So it doesn't ever stop. You don't get to that monetary goal and then just think, yep, that's me done. So that's kind of how it feels. It's really good and also a little bit sickening at the same time, because there's also an element of like, how long can I keep this up for? Now, I'm confident with my processes that I can keep doing this now, right? This is my life now, right? I'm confident with that. But there's also still, because business is so unpredictable, you don't know what's going to happen. It's also like you get there, you hit 1 10K month, 2, 3, 4, and you're thinking, can I do it again the next month? Can I do it at the end of the next month? It's not this guaranteed thing that comes in every month. You are now responsible. Things can go wrong, right? So it costs a lot to even apply to go down the road. You have to make huge sacrifices, like I just said there. Like, are you willing to get rid of your friends group that you thought were your friends for like 7 years in school? Are you willing to just cut them off like that because you realize they weren't good for you? Or a girl that you liked, that you're in a relationship with, that you had to end, and it wasn't even like on bad terms either, which made it even tougher because you didn't like hate each other or anything. Like, are you willing to do that just because you want to? You're that dedicated to being the person you want to be? Like, are you willing to do these things? Like, do you actually want it that bad? Because that pain, honestly, I'm telling you now, is not something that's fun at all. It's glorified online. Like, I had to sacrifice so much, bro. Mate, it's one of the worst things I've ever been through in my life. And sometimes I sit there, honestly, and I think, was it worth it? Now, it was. But I still have moments where I'm just like, that was a lot for what I've got now. And I'm thinking, like, the amount of pain that I put in and the amount I've had to go through, I don't think 10K is enough. And that's also where the whole thing about getting there, you don't want to stop, because you feel like you get there and the pain you put in to get there wasn't enough. So now you have to prove yourself by getting even further. So yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, life is good. I'm not gonna lie. It's nice, like, to know that I can basically do whatever I want, whenever I want to, within reason. Like, I'm gonna be honest, it's a nice feeling. But then, like I said, you have a friend that's doing 1 million a month, and you feel like honestly, honestly, the feeling of being on like a dinner table with 3 other lads, which I had like a couple of weeks ago. One of them was doing 4.5 million a year. The other was doing roughly the same, 4, 5, 6 million a year. The other was 2 years younger than me, and he was doing like 600 grand a year. And you're sat there and you're thinking, right, there's no way in hell can I just stay comfortable here. A lot of you guys think you're gonna get to 10K and just go, yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah, you will, but you can't stop. Now you're kind of in a bit of a trap, because if you're not trying to then get to 20, you can't stay at 10. Does that make sense? Like once you get to this income mark within business or doing your own thing, once you get there, you can't then stay at 10 by trying to operate at a 10K level. The only way that you can stay the same is if you're trying to push for more. Because if you're not progressing, you're slowly dying, basically. That's what I've learned, right? You can't just go, right, I've completed it now. You have to, if you're not always trying to progress for more, you will slowly lose what you currently have. You can't just stop there and chill. So it's a bit of a trap, because a lot of you think like 10K, the end goal, kick up your feet and then that's done. No, it's this lifelong commitment that now you've set yourself into that not a lot of people talk about, right? And it sucks sometimes, right? Now this is great, but then you have memories of like, you know, the friends that you used to have and how you had to cut them off and how much that hurt and how much you felt betrayed by certain things and things you put up with for a while. And then, you know, obviously like the relationship that you had to end that sucked and cut you deep and that you still think about sometimes. And just being honest right now, guys, you still think about the pain you had to go through and the pain you put people through and the people you let down and letting down yourself and the stuff that you had to sacrifice and thinking, right, I'm here now, is this worth it? So yeah, that's how it feels. Not a lot of people will tell you that. They'll just go, oh, 10K is nothing, bro. I'll be honest, it isn't really anything. Now that I'm here, like, because I've got friends that are so rich now, it's not really that, it's not that good. Like it's good, don't get me wrong, to the average person. But then once you cross that barrier, then you realize that there's people making £1 million in a day. And you think you're the shit with 10K a month. Like, and you won't understand that when you're not making it. You won't even believe there's people out there making that much money. There is, trust me, right? I've had dinner with them. They're my friends. There are people out there doing that well. But you won't see that in the beginning. And then it takes getting there to see it, but then it feels like a bit of a trap because now you can't stop. Does that make sense? And because you've sacrificed so much and gone so far and done so well, now you don't want to stop and you don't want to just stay still because you've proven how much potential you have. So it's this constant fight with yourself to keep going further and further and further and further and further. And you're never truly happy with where you get to because there's always another mountain to climb. You can't just like jack it all in. I mean, you can, but it's very hard. But yeah, that's how it feels, all right? As somebody that was a crippling introvert, right? I was fat, I was out of shape. I couldn't really hold a conversation with anybody. You know, I worked in retail and I couldn't even look customers in the eyes when I packed their bags for them. I'd have customers that were rude to me when I packed their bags for them, and I just cut up into a ball and be a little pussy, basically, because I had no backbone. I remember in October 2023, which is 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I had £19.32 in my account. I just went to go pay my car MOT. And it was like £800 or £900. And I remember afterwards I had to borrow money from my mum to do the food shop for the week because I'd been totally, I had my bank account ripped, like all the money in my bank account ripped out of it. Yeah, I've started off probably worse than you guys. And it feels good to get here now, but then it's just this endless thing and you never truly feel content with yourself. So yeah, that's how it feels. Now, if you want to know the model that I picked to get to this point, was appointment setting. I still do it to this day, and I also coach people. Very good at it. I've done 2 million in cash collecting for clients. I've worked with people like Charlie Morgan and William Brown. I've seen well over 6 figures in commissions. I know what I'm talking about, right? So if you're looking to start this model and you're seeing some guru teaching you how to do it, 9 out of 10 times I can promise you, I probably know who they are. And I can tell you hands down, they don't know what they're talking about, right? They don't do it anymore. They used to in the past briefly, but don't actually know what works now. It's a rapidly changing market. I'm still up to date. So if you want to learn how to do it the right way, right? Get to the point where you're replacing your income from your phone, right? Then there's gonna be a call link in the description to book in a call with me, one-to-one. And I'll run you through exactly how I can guarantee you land a high ticket role in the next 60 days guaranteed. If that's of interest, if not, don't worry, because obviously it's a sales pitch. So if you're not interested, don't worry. But if you're curious to see how that works, you want my personal help, link is there. Thanks for watching. Take care.